Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Katie Halper Show Self-Care for All series. As people know, we're doing the Self-Care for All series, which brings self-care to people who either don't necessarily usually do it or we want to make sure that people don't have to basically spend a lot of money on it. And, we talk a lot about politics, obviously, on the Katie Halper Show. We talk about the societal, the social, the political. And so we want to talk about this part a little bit. And, just so everyone understands out there, this isn't like a panacea, obviously. I feel like it's important to bring these things to leftists, to activist organizers and stuff. So I'm going to do this little thing that I do sometimes, and you guys get to watch me do it. It's very exciting for you, where I just remind people on Instagram and Twitter to come, because I want to make sure that we have as many people coming as possible. So, and then we're going to bring on the guests, but I will tease you guys with the very impressive bio of our guests who we're going to be bringing on very soon. And Theresa Giglio. And Theresa is a certified recovery coach, yoga teacher, and entrepreneur. She helps teens, college students, and young adults reach their physical, mental, and spiritual goals. Theresa focuses on a holistic and soul-centered approach to healing. Her own recovery journey has paved the way to help her build her own business called The Warrior Within and help hundreds of people receive the love, support, and resources they need to live their best and fullest life. So that is Theresa. And make sure that you check out her website at thewarriorwithin.co. And now, as advertised, as promised, I'm going back to Instagram and then Twitter, and I'm going to just spread the gospel, the gospel according to Theresa. I'm just kidding. I'm saying that. She doesn't say that. All right, let's do a little Instagram live. Everyone grab some water in the meantime. Everyone like the stream, by the way. Like and share. Like and share. Hi, everyone. Okay. Hi, Instagram. Just inviting you guys to check out another self-care for all stream that we're doing. Today's is with Theresa Giglio, and she's a great recovery speaker and healer. And I'm going to read you her bio. She is a recovery coach, yoga teacher, and entrepreneur. She helps teens, college students, and young adults reach their physical, mental, and spiritual goals. She focuses on a holistic and soul-centered approach to healing. Her own recovery journey has paved the way to help her build her own business called The Warrior Within and helps hundreds of people receive the love, support, and resources they need to live their best and fullest life. So maybe in the future, I'll figure out how to do this from Instagram at the same time. I don't know how to do that from Instagram at the same time. As of now, I only know how to do it from YouTube. So come on over to youtube.com/The Katie Halper Show. Again, that's youtube.com/The Katie Halper Show. And this is part of the series Self-Care for All, where we bring self-care to people who, either don't normally do it, to lefties, to activists, to organizers. And we make sure it's not just something that people with money can access, basically. And of course, we know this is, on my show, we focus on the societal, the social, and this is just one aspect. And we want to make sure it's not just a luxury. So see you at youtube.com/The Katie Halper Show. Bye. Okay, and now we're going to share that to Instagram TV. Trying to find a decent thumbnail where I don't look crazy. Okay, Theresa, this is, we don't really have a fourth wall on this show. Self-care, recovery. Okay. Okay, youtube.com. See, this is why I need more mindfulness in my life. Okay, the Katie Halper Show. Everyone get a glass of water. Okay, and one more thing. Oops, not message. Hi, everyone. Welcome to a Twitter a tweet video. Just telling people, making sure people know that we're doing another segment of Self-Care for All, which is the self-care program series that I'm doing on my youtube.com/The Katie Halper Show. And it's a way to bring self-care to people who are not necessarily well versed in it. Maybe people who don't have enough money, to pay for it, or don't think that it's a priority, which I totally understand. And that's kind of part of this show, this series, is to make it so that this stuff isn't just a luxury, because it is important. And as everyone who watches my show knows, this is not the main focus of it. The main focus of my show is societal, structural, economic. But this is also a useful tool, and we want people to have it. So we're blessed with another segment, blessed with a great speaker. And the thing about these series is that every session you do something. So it's not just talking about stuff. So we're going to do something. We're going to do some breathing with Theresa. And Theresa is our guest. She is a certified recovery coach, yoga teacher, who helps teens, college students, and young adults reach their physical, mental, and spiritual goals, focusing on a holistic and soul-centered approach to healing. Her own recovery journey has paved the way to help her build her own business called The Warrior Within, and help hundreds of people receive the love, support, and resources they need to live their best and fullest life. So come on down. Thank you for the hearts. Come on down to youtube.com/The Katie Halper Show. Again, that's youtube.com/The Katie Halper Show. Bye. All right. Stop broadcast. Okay. Great. All right. I think they went out. And then let's just do one tweet. And then we will be on our way to living our greatest life. Tweet. Whoops. Oh, God. I hate. All right. All right. Hold on. Tune in. Oops. Tune in for more self-care for all. Okay. Theresa, do you have Twitter? You don't have Twitter, do you? Okay. Maybe we should get you on Twitter. Although it's a miserable place. Most people shouldn't be on it. Okay. All righty. All right. Okay. All right, guys. Are you guys ready for this? All right. What do you mean I need a techie helper? Why is my... Oh, thank you for reminding me. I will get Johan Hari on. Thank you for reminding me. But today we have an amazing speaker, and we're going to bring her in. You've heard me about 3 times, I think, introduce her, so I won't give you the bio again, but let's bring her in. Theresa, hi.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And thank you for your patience. Did I pronounce your last name right, by the way?
Yeah, it's pronounced like Giglio. You did fine.
Okay, good. Okay, great. A nice Italian last name.
Yes.
All right. So I just wanted to, let we're going to be doing another workshop with you next week, which I'm very excited about. That's going to be on Thursday at 11 a.m. So we're really blessed. We're getting a double helping of Theresa. But wanted to give you, the chance to introduce yourself to people, explain how you, found yourself on this journey.
Yeah. Well, thank you again so much for having me. My heart's like racing a million miles an hour right now, just because like this is so awesome. So I just want to like take a moment to kind of ground for myself and hopefully for the audience before I start talking, so I can do it out of a place that is best going to support everybody here. So yeah, let's just take one big deep breath in. Okay. If the audience would like to join, or just for me and you. So just closing your eyes and slowly just attuning yourself to this present moment and where we are right now. Just taking a deep breath in through the nose and then out through the nose, releasing maybe any anxieties, any tensions, anything, so you can fully be open to receiving any maybe wisdom or knowledge through the session that is needed in your life right now to support you. So taking that deep breath in and out. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining me with that. So yeah, you asked Katie a little bit about my story. Like, people are probably like, who is this Theresa person and why is she here? Why is this relevant to me? And so I'll tell you a little bit about my journey and who I am, and then get into a little like experience where you can really experience some of this powerful work that has saved my life. So pretty much like Katie said 3 times, I'm a recovery coach, yoga teacher, and entrepreneur. And I specifically help teens and young adults who are struggling with various addictions, mental disorders, and I help them, reach their physical, mental, and spiritual goals. And so, for me, this path has been so important, my own recovery journey. And then I now, through these techniques, that I'll be talking about not only in this session, but the next session, I'll kind of tell you how I healed a lot of my stuff. So just a little bit about my story. I grew up from a very young age in a household that was affected by addiction and mental disorders. And so, I just kind of remember being little, like 4 or 5 years old, and feeling like something's wrong with me. Like, why do I have this anxiety? Why do I feel broken? Like, what's happening? It's because my nervous system wired in a way that my fight or flight response was very, very activated. And so through that, just feeling like just all this like chaos and all this stuff, but I wasn't conscious of it at that young age. I just felt like something's wrong. And so I attributed that, to, oh, like, nobody loves me, right? Like, I'm not enough. Like, there's something wrong with me. I'm broken because I'm feeling this tension, this anxiety all the time. And so unconsciously, what I did from a very young age was find ways to self-soothe and find ways to gain that comfort that I didn't have in my initial environment. And so, like, the first thing I remember doing is like candy, and I'd be really little and I'd be like looking through the couch to collect coins so I could walk to the the candy store next door to my house to have that to self-soothe. So if something was going around, at school or whatever it was, like, I had this thing to ground, to feel comfort, to really just stop that chatter in my mind for those few seconds. And I learned from a really young age that like things outside of myself could provide that safety that I was seeking internally. And that I could kind of hack my brain and hack my system, like hormonally and chemically, to again find that thing that I was always missing. And then as the years progressed and as I got older, obviously, sugar and food would turn into like a severe eating disorder. And I struggled with bulimia for 11 years, starting at age 11. And then, after that, it kind of moved to the substances and the all of that stuff. And so by 18, I didn't have any ways to cope, and I didn't really know what was happening. All I knew is that I was constantly seeking outside of myself to feel okay. And obviously those things turned pretty, detrimental to my health. And, by the age 18, I was on a path where like, if I didn't shift my life, I was going to die. If I didn't shift my life, if I didn't choose a higher path to live by, then, I was going to feel trapped in a prisoner in my own head for the rest of my life. And I didn't want that. And so that's when I decided to go away and get some help and kind of understand like everything that's happening in me. Because again, I was never taught mindfulness. I was never taught that a lot of us experience mental disorders and, anxiety and depression. Like, I just felt like I was the anomaly and that there was just something severely wrong with me. And I, saw everybody outside just, I was like, whatever they have, I want, because I don't want this. And it was just complete rejection of self. So that started my healing and recovery journey at age 18. And, what that's kind of looked like is getting sober from, alcohol and substances and healing my eating disorder and really cultivating a relationship with myself. where I'm not seeking externally for all these things to feel whole. And, it's been such a blessing and an opportunity to feel okay in this world, right? To know my ground and to know, despite what's happening around me, right? Despite all of the things that are happening around me, it's like I can center in my truth. And then hopefully through my presence, I can then help other people be able to access that relief, access that breath. Like, I feel like, I've been for my entire life, like always trying to like treading over water and just trying to breathe and catch my breath and then going under and coming up and like all that kind of stuff. And I truly believe it's our birthright just as beings, as humans, to like feel joy, to feel love, to feel free. And for me, that started with the internal, working on my internal journey, and then it getting reflected in my external and all these beautiful opportunities and amazing people that I've met on this path. So that's a little introduction. Is there any questions for you, Katie, that you want to ask me, or is there anything before I
Yeah,
move on?
I want to know, and you don't have to respond to this. You can just say no comment, I guess. But were there any was there a moment where you were like, when you said, I realized I was going to die? Is there a moment that everything kind of crystallized? Like, did some, what? Yeah, if you're comfortable sharing that.
Totally, of course. Yeah, I think that the way that I see it now is that there are a lot of moments growing up where, kind of the universe was giving me grace. It was like, kind of like shaking me, like, wake up type of thing. And I mean, that happened from such a young age, but I wasn't present enough to be able to connect to that. I was, just kind of surviving to not even see these signs of like, maybe it was like getting in car accidents, because I did get in car accidents at 16. Like, just all these things were like, you could have thought that was a wake up call, or I could have chosen that as my wake up call, but I still had more history to do to be able to have the willingness to completely surrender and let go of all these things that, again, like at that time were saving my life. Like, I found these ways to cope. They're not bad, but they were self-harming in the end, to be able to function on a daily basis. And it was very subconscious, and I wasn't in control of my being. And I think by 18, it was like it got to such a bottom where I could not see the light at the end of the tunnel, in a sense. And so that's when I just knew I had this feeling in my body. I had this, thought that I call it my moment of grace that the universe granted me. And instead of just kind of pushing it away, it was like, okay, I got to act on this. Like, I have to act on this now. And I have no idea where my life is going to lead or what's happening. But all I know is that, like, I have to take care of myself if I want to be able to help others.
So was it part of your wanting to help others that brought you here, like that brought you out of yourself in a weird, ironic way?
Totally. I think that's been a big part of my why, right? Because I think that a lot of people that I work with and even in this whole entire world, right? It's like, for me, I had to really set intention of why I'm doing this, because when you get into recovery or on the path of wellness or healing, like, it's so counterintuitive, because your body, your nervous system has built this armor, this way to survive, whatever coping mechanism that is. But it's like, to step onto the path of healing, you have to retrain your nervous system that you're safe without doing these things, and it doesn't know that it's safe. And so, like, my why in those moments, where I was sober, where I was not using these mechanisms to cope, like, is what got me through the day. And my why was to be able to help, young females, find that serenity, find that peace that we all deserve. And then that kept me going throughout the years.
And so what were the steps? I'm like, was it that you stopped, you changed the way you were eating first? Was it that, like, I know that you have a whole, there are all these pillars of like well-being and wellness, but how did you do it? Did you go to rehab? Did you go to a center? If you don't mind sharing that?
Of course. Yeah. For me, I had to go to an inpatient place. I went to a wilderness program. Because I love nature. And I was like, oh, like, this program is going to be great. Like, I don't want to go to rehab. That seems like really heavy, and I'm 18. And so I'm like, yeah, like, wilderness, let's do it. And it was definitely like not what I was expecting when I chose to go there, but it was exactly what I needed, and it saved my life. And I think that depending on the stage you are in, like the spectrum of, if you want to call it addiction, if you want to call it coping skills, like whatever that is, if you're on a spectrum where it's really intense and you might need immediate help, it's something we cannot do alone. And sometimes we need a container to really dive deep into the reasons why we're using these things. And so going inpatient was really important because I needed that strong container. I needed other people to be around where I could just let everything go that I was bottling up inside. And then there's a lot of people who I work with where, where they're at on that spectrum, they don't need inpatient, right? Like they can find the coping tools, they can find things, support, community around them where they don't really have to go deep dive into a really held container.
Got it. Great. And then tell me, I know we're having you on again. We're very lucky to be having you on again next Thursday. So I wanted to ask you about eating stuff, but should we wait to do that until next week?
Whatever you feel called to do. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so when you did this wilderness program, were you addressing at this point you were having food issues, and also substance issues at the same time, or did one replace the other?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So at that time, it was substances was the main sort of force. And what I saw from just looking back on my life, I consider them like Hydra heads. I don't know if you've ever read like a fantasy book and there's that monster, and once you cut off a head, another one grows up. And so that's kind of like how my coping mechanism was. It was like, oh, when I found food, all of a sudden, the substances, it got a lot quieter because I was focusing my energy into, using behaviors out of food. And then, when I was more focusing on the substance end, then all of a sudden the food got a lot more quiet. And I think when I was 18, as a freshman in college for the first time, I never knew any of the boundaries that had to do with those types of things and being out of the house and just like new environment, new people, nobody knew me. That escalated pretty quick. And so that's what I went in for, but it was also extreme anxiety, panic attacks, just all that kind of stuff too was a lot of the driving factor of just being in college and not knowing why I was having these extreme panic attacks and I couldn't breathe. And I thought, again, that story of I'm broken, there's something wrong with me, really just was a part of my life back then because my body was doing all these things that I didn't know what it was doing. And looking back, it was a lot of trauma. My body was trying to energetically release a lot of trauma in these different ways. And I didn't have a container to be able to allow that to release healthily and heal.
And people are asking about the term container, which it's funny. I noticed popping up. One friend used it, and I was like, oh, that's just my friend. One friend using it, then someone else used it, and now you're using it. So, can you just talk quickly about what you mean by that term?
Totally. So I think, I heard this quote one time and it's like, the opposite of addiction is connection. And when I say addiction, I really just want to take a moment to realize that addiction is not just with substances, right? Addiction is using anything outside of ourselves to feel that connection or wholeness. And it's continuing to repeat a negative consequence, continuing to repeat a behavior despite it bringing a negative consequence in our life. And so that's how I define it for me from a holistic perspective of okay, what things do we continue to do that we probably don't want to do? And it's bringing negative consequences in our life because we're trying to feel a sense of wholeness. And so for a container, what that means is that truly all we're seeking outside of ourselves is that wholeness, is that connection. And so we can't heal unless we replace an old habit with a new habit. And so that container is just a place where you have community, you have people walking the same path of you, you have that mirror, you have that support to be able to dive deep into things that, for me, I was constantly pushing down and I didn't want to look at it. And so, a container can look so different for everybody, right? It doesn't have to be inpatient or community or people, but it's mentally we can create containers in our head, to really ground ourselves in who we are on our innermost level and set boundaries with how we're showing up in the world, our thoughts, setting boundaries with our thoughts of this thought is not serving me. So I'm going to contain it. I'm going to set a boundary, or bringing in, people and things where we do feel safe so that we can heal. Does that answer it a little bit?
Yeah, I think that let's see, what do people say? Uh let's see. And thank you, Phantom Esmonte, for clipping this. Make sure everyone, by the way, let's see. Strong container. I think so. It's just where it's your it's like you have an intention and it's kind of limiting. Is that correct? Or I mean, it's not limiting, it's like protective. It's a group of people, or is it a way you think
Totally.
about something?
I think again, like it's going to be different for everybody of what container means to them. And this is again, it's not an. I think what I really try to do in my work is help someone be able to define the things that are going to help them heal. And so one person might need a really strong container, one person might not need a container at all. But it's that internal intuition and that internal knowledge and intelligence that we have that we're really trying to tap into. And so for my own personal journey, right, a container was super important because I needed to be able to sort of have a space. Like if you imagine like a hula hoop on the ground, right? And the hula hoop is the container. And like I'm going to dip one foot into the container and be held and do a lot of this deep work. And then I'm going to take my foot out and, you know, go play basketball, go live life,
Okay.
go do the things. But I needed to be able to heal. I needed to be able to have that hula hoop to jump into and then also jump out. So it's not engulfing me. It's not re-traumatizing me.
Okay. And what was your container?
It's developed over the years. Every year it
Okay.
changes because I'm at a different stage in my life and I need different containers to hold me. And so in the beginning, again, it was that inpatient. And then, you know, throughout the years, it could be, you know, a club, it could be a friend group, it could be my therapeutic community. Like, and it's molded and shifted over the years as I've changed.
Got it. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So let's see. Should we start with the do you want to do the yesterday we actually did some breath work. And so we're going to be doing some more today. And I forgot to ask you hold on one second. I'm just going to send you a message in the private chat, okay?
Okay.
Guys, while I'm doing this, just put all your nicest comments in there. Okay. Okay. You get it? Let's see comments.
Yeah, we can definitely do that.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be different from
Cool.
yesterday. Okay, great. Okay, really excited. Now I'm even okay. Oh, and really quickly, someone commented on something about men. It wasn't problematic. It was just an honest thing about how sometimes men, you know, are asking about if I was going to have any men guests on the show. Because it's true that generalizing, a lot of people who talk about this stuff are women. And or it's easier for totally generalizing, but it's easier for women. I think it's more acceptable to talk about this. So I'm going to have I don't want to reveal their names yet, but I'm going to have some guests who are men this week. So you could look that. I don't want to say you have that to look for. Well, you do have that to look forward to, but not in a way that there's anything wrong with having women on the show. Obviously, I'm overthinking this. I just needed to either address that or not. So okay, I'm giving that up. And when we do the breathing, the exercise, I'm going to make you full screen if that's okay. So people aren't distracted by watching me do it. You'll be able to see me. So if I do anything bad, I'm sure you would use that language. But you know, in case I go off, fall asleep or something, which I won't.
Cool.
But yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So I'm going to guide you guys through a little breathing exercise that I know really has helped me be able to ground in stressful moments, be able to come back into my body. But before I want to do that, I want to talk about like breath, right? I feel like that word gets thrown around so much. Like you'll hear breath work, you'll breathe, like all of these things. And I know like when I first was introduced with it, I was like, why are all these people like talking about breath? Like, I don't get it. Like they're saying this stuff like changes your life. Like, you know, I've never been able to relate to that because I've never been able to experience the power of it. And so what I've realized, again, this is my own path. This is my own journey. Like, you know, I love to encourage people to find their truth of what, you know, maybe breath means to you and how that helps you. And so I'm just going to share from my own experience. about the importance of breath and how it relates to self-care. Because right now, we're talking about self-care. Um, and the breath, there's a very important connection between our breath and our thinking, right? And so, like, for example, if you're driving in a car and there's traffic, like next time this happens, I want you guys to just be conscious or awareness of like, where's the state of your breath? Are you having deep breathing and telling your nervous system that it's safe and that it has, it can engage its parasympathetic nervous system response? Or is it, is your breath shallow? Is it tight? Are you holding your breath? Like, what's happening? I know for me, when I'm like in traffic or something, I'm always holding my breath. Like, and it's just something I'm aware of, and that I can be like, okay, I'm holding my breath. Let me take a deep breath in and out, because I can't control this, but I can control the state of my thinking and how I relate to whatever's happening around me. Um, and so, like, again, like, I would say most of us haven't been taught how to breathe correctly. And a lot of us are walking around with not truly engaging our lungs and our diaphragm to the ways that we need to be able to do to feel relaxed, to feel like, not stressful and not anxious and stuff like this. And so when I learned how to breathe properly, it changed my life. And that it's a process, because you're retraining, right, your breath. Like, mine was very shallow and I would hold my breath a lot, which, if you think about it, right, like, your breath is the thing that's going to signal to your whole system, your hormone system, your chemical system, your brain, like everything, like where you're at, how you're doing. And so if I'm holding my breath, that's sending a scarcity signal throughout the body that I'm not safe, that my fight or flight response is going to be engaged, and I'm going to feel that anxiety. And so really, if we can control our breath, we can control our life, because we know that we're going to have external things come at us where you might feel your breath tighten, all that kind of stuff. But then we consciously, with this awareness of how we breathe, we can then send a signal to our body of like, we are safe and we are okay. And, whatever's happening is, not currently, like serving us in this moment, like all those types of things. And so I just wanted to introduce a little bit about conscious breathing and the importance of it. And one quote that I heard, that like really just kind of like blew my mind, is that we come into this world on an inhale and we're going to leave this world on an exhale. And so breath is the first thing that we come into this world. And so there has to be importance in it, right? Like, it's something that can't go past the mind as a tool to really live your fullest potential, to live your best life. Is, something is really learning about the breath. It's not the only thing, but it's a very important basic nourishment, a basic foundation to how to live. So any questions on that before I begin the exercise, Katie?
No, that's good. It's very depressing. It's like, it's depressing, and also it's soothing. It's scary, I guess. It's pretty scary.
Mm-hmm.
The remembering the whole, makes me really wish I was religious. But let's see. Rick wrote, to enjoy life is to face the inevitability that you are going to die and rejoin the natural process of being. That's kind of scary.
Yeah.
But I guess there's some comfort in it. I'm trying to get to that part of it, but
totally. Yeah. No, you have a really valid point, like very valid, of like, actually the reason why we're so disconnected from our breath, because we're in that survival state. Like, once we connect to our breath, it's the most immediate way to get here in the present moment, right? And a lot of us haven't really cleared a lot of things of like, why is it so unbearable to be in the here and now? Why is it so this is for me talking. Why is it so hard to, not be constantly doing something, not to be constantly working, going, like all these things? Like, why is it so hard for me to just sit with myself in this moment in pure silence? And it's because, again, my nervous system imprinted a response that when I'm silent, when nothing's happened, I'm not safe. And so by me connecting to my breath, my nervous system would like, have a reaction. So I was like, I don't want to do this thing. This thing isn't serving me. But again, like, anything on this path of healing, wellness, whatever you want to call it, like, there's a period where there's going to be tension before that release comes. And so you most likely, at least for me, like, there's going to be some uncomfortability with being like, whoa, I'm so embodied right now, and I've never been in my body. Like, and you start to feel and see all these things which are foreign, which is unknown, right? And unknown is uncomfortable. And so it takes time, it takes consistency to be able to retrain your thinking, retrain your nervous system, retrain how your body is reacting. Which is difficult, but we have to have the courage and bravery to be able to step in these things, because the thing on the other side is there's so much love and there's so much freedom in that.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, love and freedom and fear, but yeah, anxiety is the fear of the unknown. Wow. All right. Awesome. And should we start with the breathing exercise then?
Totally. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. And also
okay.
people, just really quickly, people, oh, good. Thank you. As a therapist, I'm glad to see someone on this segment of the left actually engaging with some self-care strategies. Yes. And thank you. And I was going to say, some people are, talking about how, oh, this is, giving in to the war on drugs and we have to fight. And yes, we do. And, I'm going to try to get someone who's a big, like, maybe I don't want to say, because I don't want to disappoint, but I'm going to try to get someone on who dedicates their lives to activism and organizing, and also sees the value of self-care, because they're not mutually exclusive. And I remember, I think it was Tara Brach, her book, Radical Acceptance.
Yeah.
Right. And she pointed out that she had a friend who was a big activist, and, because I get that whole thing, like, radical acceptance, isn't that like you're accepting the status quo, and you're not endorsing it. It's like, if you are aware of the situation, that's when you can then like, you see it, and then you don't want it, you can't be burnt out or totally frazzled. You're just not as effective that way. So you can do both things. And in fact, I think that, if you want to be an effective organizer or activist, I think this stuff helps. So yeah. Anyway, okay. To the breath work. I'm gonna fade out now.
Okay, cool. Okay, so I'll just give you a preface so we're only going to do this for about 5 minutes. It's not going to be 30 minutes, but if you can, just give yourself sort of the gift of this next 5 minutes and have an experience. Get curious, like, without any expectation of how maybe you should feel afterwards. But again, it's like a science experiment of like, okay, I'm going to get curious about when I do this breath work, what happens to me? How do I feel different? And so, yeah, if you want to join me on this little 5-minute experience that we'll do together, it's something that's really helped me in my life. And so I had a different one planned, but just now, which is great. This is a great breath. We're going to do some alternate nostril breathing. And I'll tell you a little bit about it, because again, the more conscious I am of how this internal technology works, how different breaths are affecting different channels, energetic channels within the system, putting on different chemical responses, accessing different parts of the brain. We can literally hack our bodies with knowing these things of like, oh, this breath work's going to help invigorate and energize me if I do it this way, or this one's a relaxation response. And there's hundreds and hundreds of them. And it's been really interesting on my own journey to learn how through the breath, different things change within me, and it's not all just the same constant. And so I'm going to do, again, the alternate nostril breathing, which I'll show you before we actually get to it. And so we're going to be taking our thumb, it could be your right hand or left hand, whatever works for you. And we're going to be plugging one nostril. So you're going to be plugging, in this case, the right nostril with your right thumb. And then we're going to be breathing in through the nose, just through the left nostril on this one. So breathing deeply in. And then on the exhale, we're going to take our ring finger here, and we're going to plug it and exhale on the right. Don't worry if that sounds a lot right now. I'll lead you through it, and then we can do it ourselves. So I'll be guiding you through it while we start it. Oh, wait, I can't hear you.
Sorry, can you say that again? So it's right. Can you just say that again? I want to make sure I got it right.
Totally. Yeah. And I'll go through it deeper when we're doing it together, but pretty much the movement is going to be plugging your right nostril, breathing in through your left, and then plugging the left nostril before you exhale, and then exhaling through the right, and then
Okay.
breathing in through the right, plugging the right nostril with your thumb, exhaling through the left, and then breathing in through the left and plug. And I'll lead you through it.
Okay. So it's just so it's right. It's right with the right thumb. It's only the right hand for now, and it's right with right thumb, right nostril, right thumb, and then left nostril, right ring finger.
Totally. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah. And so what this does for the alternate nostril breathing is that so our left nostrils is actually connected to our right brain, and our right brain, what it does is it's the creative center, it's the intuition, it's the relaxation response. And so if we're just breathing through our left nostril, you're telling your body that that's what's happening internally, because it's signaling to your brain, oh, this is the stuff. And as we breathe through the right nostril, that's activating more of the invigorating motivation. They call it the solar channel, in studies and stuff like that. And so you're engaging both sides of the nostril, which is going to bring you to a balanced state, right? So if, say, right now you're feeling more like lethargic and sort of like really dull energy, by doing this, you're going to bring both energy channels back into balance. Or if you're feeling super anxious and like, just that high energy, procrastination, whatever it is, this is also going to bring you back down to more of a balanced state of mind, a more clear state of mind. So that's a little bit about the technology and how it works. It's so much deeper than all that, but that's just a little taste. And we will get going now.
Okay, great. Awesome.
Cool. And so if you feel comfortable, again, closing your eyes, great. But if you don't feel comfortable, don't feel like you have to close your eyes, I invite you to do it, but it's not required. And so closing your eyes, we're just going to take a deep breath in through both nostrils before we begin. So taking a deep breath in and out, and slowly just connecting to your body in this moment. Maybe feeling your feet on the ground, maybe your sit bones touching the chair or the floor, or wherever you're at, and just taking a moment to come back into the body here. Maybe noticing any sounds in your environment currently, maybe any smells, just really coming here into the very, very present moment. And before we begin, just connect to your body. What's the energy like? Do you feel maybe some anxiety in your chest? Maybe your stomach hurts. Maybe you feel really good. Maybe you feel really balanced. Just noticing before we begin your state of how you're feeling right now, and taking a little time to connect to that. Taking a pause in our day to be here in the now. And then when you're ready, keeping those eyes closed, we're going to lift our right hands up, place our right thumb on our right nostril, and begin to inhale through the left nostril. Inhaling deeply, slowly, taking a deep breath. And then before the exhale, we're going to plug our left nostril with our ring finger on that same right hand and exhale deeply through the right. And then keeping that left nostril plugged with that ring finger, we're going to inhale through the right nostril. Plugging the right nostril with the thumb, exhale through the left. Inhaling through the left nostril. Plug, exhale through the right. Inhaling through the right nostril. Plug, exhale left. Inhaling through the left nostril. plug, exhale, right. And continue doing this. See if you can really focusing on deepening your breath with each inhale. Feeling the air touch your nostrils on the inhale and also on the exhale. Maybe noticing if cool air is coming on the inhale or exhale, and maybe there's hot air coming on the exhale and they're different. Just subtly attuning yourself to such these little subtle aspects of ourselves that we're not stopping to pay attention to. So again, inhaling deeply, plugging, and exhaling. Inhaling on the right, plugging the right, exhaling on the left. Inhaling on the left, plugging and exhaling on the right. And so I'll just go quiet as you can continue the breath, that pace at any rhythm that feels comfortable for you. We'll be here for a couple more minutes, seeing if you can really deepen your awareness, your experience through this little breath exercise. And do your last breath on both nose. Breathing in deeply and exhaling. And then when you're ready, slowly re-enter the space. See if you can do it super slow with no rush, continuing to signal to your body that it's safe, that it's balanced, continuing to stay in that frequency. And then when you're ready, slowly open your eyes and take a moment just to pause with a normal breath, maybe closing your eyes or keeping them open, and just attune yourself to what it feels right now to be in your body after that breath exercise. How is the state of your being? Do you feel relaxed? Do you feel more grounded or do you feel more tense? There's no right or wrong answer. Without judging the body or the moment, we just notice with awareness. We get curious about what's happening internally. And then slowly, as you take some time to connect with yourself in this moment, whenever you're ready, open your eyes and we'll connect back into this space.
Great. That was great.
Yeah. How are you feeling? What was your experience like, Katie? I would be so curious to know.
Calmer and more like how would I say it? Calmer and well, I realized I really need to blow my nose.
That's valid fact.
Yeah. I should probably start doing that. What's it called? Neti pot, maybe not.
Oh
Another
yeah,
expression. But yeah, like expand. I don't know. My mind. How would I put it? Like calmer, and I feel like I have. This sounds weird, but I feel like I have a expand. Like I have more peripheral vision or something. That probably sounds
Mhm.
crazy, but I don't know if there's any research into that. But
Yeah. I
yeah,
don't know the exact research or science, but I definitely feel
yeah,
that too. Like I looked back on the screen, I'm like, whoa, so
yeah,
much bigger.
yeah, yeah.
So that's awesome. Thank you so much for joining me, everyone in the audience. Thank you guys for
Yes.
joining. That was beautiful.
Kameshwari Kate says at the ashram we call it alternate nostril breathing, snoti no dana.
That's so funny. I think the Sanskrit or the term in yoga is the Nadi Shodhana breathing. So that's funny. I feel like the little fun to it.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, this is great. And other people enjoyed it.
Nice.
Thank you. Yeah. Seriously, I do find a meditative type state through gym workouts. Oh, that's interesting.
I agree. The gym,
Yeah.
I say, is like my second church. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's just because I feel like the gym, when you're moving your body, and we're going to talk about this, the next of the 8 pillars of wellness and lifestyle, and movement is a big part. So breath is just a piece of what I consider how, you know, what it takes for me to just feel super present and super to my, you know, highest potential, like I said in the beginning. And movement's a huge piece of that too, of like, we need to move energy through the body, and the gym is a great way to really get so present and calm the mind, because we're all trying to calm the mind.
Right. Swimming is really great too.
Totally.
Yeah. What do you do in the gym?
So I do a few things. I'm currently training right now for a marathon. So because literally running is the thing I hate the most in this life. Like I just hate it. And so I'm like, all right, because I hate it,
Right.
I want to prove to myself that like I can do this. And when I set my mind to something, like, you know, it's more the mental fitness for me of like, oh, it's so uncomfortable, so I'm just going to dive deep into that comfort and like show myself that you know, we can do anything as humans. Like we have so much potential that's, you know, being that we don't access, that we don't use. And so again, when we put ourselves in more uncomfortable situations in the beginning, it really expands us on such a beautiful level.
Yeah. I'm not going to do that, guys. Not going to do a marathon, but I will. I do like exercise. Exercising is like, when I was a little kid, my parents would drag me to foreign films and I would always dread it. And then once I was there, I really liked it, which is maybe not the most relatable story, but I see exercise that way. Like I never want to do it. And then once I do, I'm like, I have to remember this feeling because it's really great.
Totally.
Is this true? Christopher Younger. Wow. My muscle spasms in my leg stopped. Cool. That's great.
Oh yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. Muscle spasm quieting. By the way, my Daniel Mate mentioned you about getting together to cover Joan Baez. That sounds fun. Yeah. And let's see, can we really eat? Let's see. Look at this. You see? My very first yoga teacher taught me this, but I haven't done in ages.
Nice.
Yeah, that's great. Swimming is good for your mental health. It's very hard for me to work out without music. I don't know if you've ever have to work at showing up. Yeah. Some nice feedback from Sam Jones. Katie, these self-care streams are excellent, extremely nourishing and wholesome. Good-ish. Drumming. I drummed once. I really liked it, actually. I should walk through the woods. I'm in nature. I should get a drum kit, borrow Matt Taibbi's. So someone asked about talking about suicidality, which I don't feel, I mean, that's a whole other thing. Yeah. And I don't know if that's something, I mean, we're not going to like throw it in now, but is that something you even ever talk about, or do you have any resources to recommend?
Yeah, I think it is something that I talk about because it's been a part of, you know, like just the work that I do in general when it comes to mental health. And so I think it's a really important conversation to have, to really destigmatize like that word. Because it's not something that is so uncommon in our world, which is really unfortunate. It's a lot of pain associated with that. And you're not alone. Like anybody who's struggling with that, like, you're really not alone. And there are resources out there. There's the hotline that you can call 24/7. And then, just looking at resources in your community that might be able to help with that specifically. Because again, like, I feel like community, no matter what it is, like we are people who love connection, love to be in our tribe. Like it's biologically ingrained within us. And so finding a safe community to talk about these things.
Yeah. So there's hotlines. I'm just putting this number in that I just, I'm putting this in. This is a number. Also, volunteering is like a really good way to get outside of yourself. I mean, I don't know about this area. And so I want to just be clear on that. But I do know that just like with depression and mental health in general, it's one of those like kind of counterintuitive, but also not counterintuitive, given how much connection, as you were just saying, is part of the human condition. In fact, Johan Hari, who I'm going to try to get on the show, I don't know if you know him, he wrote Missing Connections. He wrote what is it? I have it here. The Scream.
Yeah.
It's about the war on drugs. And then he wrote a book on mental health. But he talks about how, as human beings in the Western world, like as we get more square footage per, there's like I don't know if it's causal, but there's a correlation between the number of square feet you have in your house and like the number of people in your life who you would call in a time of upset, which I think is an interesting, this is okay. I have too many absent friends from suicide. Reach out, folks, if you need to. Yeah, it's true. Volunteering takes you outside yourself and is great. Yeah, and it's also like good for the world. So, yeah, that would be a good program. There should be a program. I'm not even kidding. That's like, you set like the hotline should have something where they set people up with some kind of volunteering. Animals, maybe an animal shelter if you like animals.
Animals are great.
They're great, right? Yeah. Maybe do like go to someone whose house who can't move, like I don't know, rake their leaves or something.
Totally. No, I mean, we're going to talk, that's one of the things, again, we're going to talk about next week. It's called selfless service. And it's been such a vital aspect of my life in the sense of like, those days where my ego is running wild and it's the Theresa show, right? And it's just, I'm worrying about how I'm feeling, what I'm not doing, what I am doing, like, and it's just the mind, right? The chatter is so loud. And so one thing I like to do is like during those days is one random act of kindness. I always make the intention, whether that's going to the grocery store and asking the clerk how their day is, because I bet you out of the hundreds of people they see, not many people do that. It could be just so small and so simple. And it really shifts a lot of our energy. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, let's see, what was the other thing that someone said that they tutor also. So La Victoire Roger, and then I'll wrap this up because we went over, but volunteering and learning is great, but it's hard to do anything when you can't even get out of bed.
Yeah, no, and that's true. I've been there. And that for me is like when I know that I'm at that place where it's so tough to get out of bed, it's so tough to do all those things. That's when I need to put myself first, and self-care for me is so important, because if I'm not doing that, I can't show up for another person. And so knowing that, in that moment, you being held, you being supported, you receiving instead of giving is going to be, something that is very important.
Yeah. It's funny. I feel like I brought this up yesterday when we were working with Maria Tan, and whose summit, everyone, by the way, it's a sliding scale. So I'm just going to put this in the chat. But what was I brought this up. The oxygen, and Nina Turner talks about this. I remember talking about this with her. Nina Turner is someone who was running for, she's a big, we're Bernie fan. Well, we're Bernie or disappointed in Bernie politically on this show. Bernie was like, as right wing as we go, so to speak. But she talks about self-care, and we were talking once, and then I brought it up yesterday about how it's the thing about like when you're on the plane, they tell you to put on the oxygen mask before you put on the oxygen mask for your kids. And so, or the kids you're, traveling with, or kids next to you. And I get that. It's like you have to give to others. You want to be tending to yourself. But I actually find it either paradoxically, and thank you, Gabriel, paradoxically or not, given the human connection, the desire for connection. I actually find it like if I were in bed and if I were in bed feeling like I couldn't get out of bed, that to me is like the most important time to not just be in my head. I guess you can not be in your head by like breathing, because that you're getting out of your head. But for me, that's when it's the most important to kind of like be interacting with other people. There's something very therapeutic about, this may sound weird, but about like being needed, like about being needed by others, not in a pathological way. Like I need someone to need me like that. But, it's like an animal, a kid, some crisis. We got to figure, we should have a list of things that people can do when they're really, really down. Yeah. And I'm not making light of it. Yeah.
Yeah. You bring up a beautiful point because, again, everybody's internal intelligence is so unique to them. Something that's going to work for you is not going to work for another person, or it might, and I think that's why building a relationship with yourself, and you can do this through breath, meditation, yoga, is so important, because you can realize like, whoa, maybe someone is telling me that this works, but it's not actually working for me. And instead of having shame attached to that, because I know, I would be like, oh, I'm different. Like, that's not working for me. Why is it not working for me? What am I doing wrong? But it's actually, no, like we all are uniquely designed in a way where we thrive in certain situations with certain techniques that might not work for someone else. And so, again, like knowing yourself is so, so deeply important.
Right. Yeah. And so yes, needed because it makes you feel like you have a place, you're needed, and therefore shouldn't kill myself. Yeah. I mean, again, I keep wanting to say that this is not my area. So I don't want to pretend to, and if you are feeling that way, you should call that hotline. But there's always stuff. I mean, I have no idea if they're probably suicide experts who are like, don't ever do this, don't engage on this level. But like, just remember, for people who have like a sense of social justice, or, know how screwed the system is, there's always stuff to be done. And there are always people who are less fortunate than you, even if it sounds like hard sometimes. So just don't go anywhere. That's my PSA. Reach out to someone, go to an animal shelter. I don't know, go to a soup kitchen. See, Kate says there's something powerful about being appreciated, but that's true. But what I'm talking about isn't even that. Like the thing that I'm talking about is something where it's not about the being appreciated. It's about that there's just something that needs to be done. Like it's not about someone saying thank you. And I mean, that's nice, but that's not what I'm talking about. Something slightly different, which is just that like, there's something, it just puts your stuff in perspective. And I don't mean that in a way that's like dismissive of people's pain. It just happens to be, I think it's one of those things in life where like not everything works out this way, where the thing that makes you feel better is actually good for the world. Because lots of things that make you feel better can be bad for yourself. And you know what I mean? But this is one of those things. And we're going to talk about this more next week. But the counselors are really helpful. Price and Pride says. I assume that's on the hotlines, but yeah. Well, thank you. And again, I wasn't like crapping on what the value of being appreciated. That is very nice. Caring for others is rewarding. Yeah. All right, but someone wants to know what state you're in. If you're comfortable saying the state.
Reach out to me via my website if you want to know more about me. I'll definitely, you can just email me. My email's there and we can talk about that. Yeah.
Yes. All right. Yeah. Just like watering the plants in the neglected urban space. Yeah. That'd be a good resource. Lefty like depression solutions. Like you could be like phone banking for someone, even though a lot of people here probably. Anyway, I will let you go, Theresa, because this is a slightly different subject. I'll stay on. I'll brainstorm with my audience and talk about some of the headlines for today or something. But this was great. Thank you so much. And we will see you next Thursday at 11 a.m., right?
Something like that. Tuesday, Thursday. Yeah.
I think it was, I can do either, but yeah.
Cool. We'll figure it out. But thank you guys so much just for, listening. And I just send so much love to everybody, on this call and in this world right now, because we don't know the battles that everybody's, walking through right now. And so if you do need help, like you deserve help, and just reach out. And just sending you guys so much love.
Yeah. Thanks, Theresa.
Yes. Take care. Have a great rest of your show.
Thank you.
Bye.
That was great. All right, guys. So that was great. And I like that we are, I kind of like how, this isn't really my lane. And there's a lot in this that I like make fun of often, but it's very helpful. I'm not going to lie. And I do think that there could be programs about that. Same thing with like old people and young people. They should have kids do oral histories with older people who don't get any visitors. Now it's harder with everything's harder with COVID. But that was good, right? I'm gonna cut these up into like little chunks so that people can watch them. Just do the breathing part. My friend here. Yeah. What else? Thank you for saying that. Really appreciate you, Katie. Good talk. Yeah. And we're going to do something on Thursday. I'll make the thing in advance. That's going to be kind of deep. It's going to be inner child stuff. What about Tai Chi? Anyone here interested in Tai Chi? Because I could have someone talk about Tai Chi on here. I think that could be good, right? There's a lot of interesting stuff there. Actually, let me remind myself to get in touch with someone. Yeah, this is great, right? I think this is great. Oh, guys, let's go over some headlines while we have some time. Okay, ready? Okay. This show got me doing calisthenics